Madden, as always, with me. And it's fun because, for years I sat in where Tony's sitting, and now he's sitting there. So we'll have a good time, get to throw him some questions. But Tony,
Oh yeah.
to be honest with you, Tony always scripted me a little bit and told me where we were going. Kind of just, I'm going to freeform it so he doesn't get that luxury. How you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing great, I did my homework, Mitch. I've got all 40. I got notes for all 49 games on Saturday, even two for today.
So, of course, Tony hosts our Drive-thru show. That's at 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. It was an idea that him and I both came up with, back when I was starting Pick Dogs. And really, it took us about 5 or 6 months to get it all together. But so the format of the Drive-thru show is basically it's the games that day and kind of that last minute, like, oh man, this guy's not going to play because he tripped walking out of his car, he got arrested with the hooker or something, And so it's like the updates that we don't catch early or late, right? Is that the general format? But with the schedules lighter, then you'll go into other days or props or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's what we do on the Drive-thru. Is again, we give out the live free sports picks for the games beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern time and later. And daylight today, where there's about good 16 games on the board here from NBA, MLB, NHL, and a couple college football. We're able to do that. And we should be able to do that now moving forward. Now that we have an NBA and NHL schedule, and of course, in a couple of weeks we'll have college basketball, so we'll be able to deliver same day picks for the games beginning in prime time.
It's always crazy, and it's kind of like we haven't been doing the Drive-thru and the shows and everything with a normal schedule. Last year, NBA started at Christmas, and college basketball started kind of after Thanksgiving. So this is in NHL, I think, even started like around Christmas too. So I think this is the first year, at least with us all together, that we're doing it this way. So, and this is also your first show with Joe Madden.
It is. Welcome. Very pleasure.
You're in for a treat.
I'm in for a treat here. And one thing I want to add to that, Mitch, and just as you said, listening to the audience really likes the props. So we've been able to make a little bit of props into the show, and they're asking for that in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. We have props, and also at our websites, if you go to the betting tools section, click on players, especially on Sports Chat Place, you click on players and props, and it will give you the best props for tonight based upon different scenarios. You can look at based on the last 5 games, 10 games, last year, however you want to say it, whatever sport you want to do it by how often the prop hits. Does this prop hit 40% of the time? Does it hit 60% of the time, 80% of the time, 100% of the time over that span that you've expanded? It's something that's I haven't seen it anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, it's really impressive there. And, of course, I'm an angles guy. I like the angles I find over at the Sports Chat Place. Of course, I like to use them, especially in the sports like the NBA. We have these quirky schedules, teams playing 3 games in 4 nights. Of course, NFL, it's always in college football, they play once a week. But I like to dig deep into the angles in Major League Baseball as well as in the NBA.
Yeah, it's, the stats and all that other stuff, the betting tool sections at Pick Dogs and Sports Chat is a tech project. And Tony, we were just talking about tech projects before we went on the air. And, this is just phase 1 of a 2-year build. So it's like, we just wanted to get something out the door. If it was like one of those European sites, that you see, we'd have 1 million sportsbook ads plastered all over the place with, places you can click and sign up on the books. We were so excited, and we're going to have that too, not quite to the extent that some sites take it. We'll have, where you can click on a book and get a special offer making these, prop bets that we're going to deliver for you. But at the same time, it's like we don't even have any of that stuff up. We just wanted to get it out so you guys have the actual tools to work with. And maybe in the next few weeks, we'll put that stuff in. And this way you guys can make the bets. And, because we have some parlay things there where it's like $10, you could win, 10,000. With our parlay tools.
That's really exciting, Mitch. Really excited to see those tools on the site.
But we're getting into the part of college football season. Tony, you know this a long time. College football is my game. And it's like, I don't always pick the best at it, but sometimes I do pick the best at it. But, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But it's still my game. And we're getting into that time of year. Joe was talking about how it's snowing in Canada now, where she lives. And, I could feel a little bit of fall weather. It gets dark a little earlier, I guess, and light a little later. I mean, that's
rub it in a little.
It's not. I mean, it's not drastic or anything, but you could tell. And we're getting into that time of year. We're going to get into those named games, those trophy games. Tonight the Fremont Cannon will be out, and which is the most expensive trophy of all the trophy games, and also I believe the heaviest. How heavy did you say that thing was, Joe? 570?
Yeah, something like that.
Not one of those trophies they lift over the top of their heads, that's for sure.
No, not at all. I think you said it was 575 or something in that ballpark.
Yeah, $70,000 cannon.
Yeah, we get into the rivalry games, and of course, rivalry games. I don't know. We probably think along the same line, Mitch. It always seems that there's a lot of value on the dogs. That these guys that set the lines using analytics and their database computer models. I don't think they've put enough value into the rivalry games.
I'm with you, but this year it just seems a little bit different. It's like because some of we're seeing some big names. There's always big names in the rivalry games, but it's like Michigan State. Michigan generally, I think, a little bit more popular there, so they are favored there. But then in Texas Baylor, it's actually Baylor that's favored in this game. So, we looked at these early games, and we've got, Miami-Pittsburgh, which isn't really a traditional rivalry game, but it has been a thorn in the side game for both teams, where it's like they've come in with high hopes and had them erased. Michigan State, Michigan, Baylor, Texas, all the early games here. We got Tulane, Cincinnati, Illinois, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa. Indiana, Maryland, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. There's these and others in that early slot. Any chance like Cincinnati stumbles, or you see anything else in this slot that looks attractive?
I'll start with this one here. Yeah, Tulane is just we know how bad Tulane is, and we know the Bearcats need style points because they might have lost them in that 7-point win to Navy. Although we've seen Navy improve when they change offensive coordinators, they have some covers in them, but still. I think this is an opponent that Cincinnati can really run the score on. Look at Tulane. They lost all 5 of their games against FBS opponents. We look at the Green Wave in their games against a conference. They're giving up 553 yards a game. I hate teams that give over 500 yards, Mitch. I think this is the team Cincinnati can steamroll.
How about you, Joe? Do you see anything in this time slot?
Well, I'm completely with you on that. Cincinnati's going to steamroll over this Tulane team that hasn't been doing well. They've been unraveling at the seams ever since they got that one upset win. I'm really interested to see what happens with Michigan State. I think this is going to be a really tight one. I'm leaning right now on taking Michigan State plus the points because I think this one comes down to a field goal, and these two teams just go at it really hard. But there's so many good games. I'm excited for Texas Longhorns and the Baylor Bears, and this is one I really want Texas to come out and win. But I don't think so. I think Baylor wins this one and covers.
I want to add. I should have added to the other games, Mitch. I only gave one here. I'm looking at this dog with Miami, and we talked about this, how Miami's shown improvement with the quarterback change here. Derek King, he just seems to get hurt a lot. And Tyler Van Dyke, good performance against NC State. And, in this Baylor game, it comes down to the defensive side, just better and more consistent with the Bears. And there was another game here I was looking at here with this with some of the later games here. I think UCF can roll it up here on Temple. We're seeing some improvement here with UCF's new quarterback Indiana and Maryland. Oh yeah, I definitely look on the side here of Maryland. Terrapins laying the 5 in an early game. Indiana dealing with a crisis at quarterback. We could be looking at their 3rd and 4th stringer in. And I know it's a big step down in class for both teams, but I just think Maryland has a better talent on offense.
Yeah, Indiana's really become a dumpster fire this year. And I know, Ohio State celebrated that big win over Indiana, and they stuck it in prime time on ABC last week. But, make no mistake about it, this is a 2-5 Indiana team. This is not the Indiana team that we saw last year that knocked off Penn State and, had a couple other big wins. This is a bad Indiana team. I like Maryland there too. Maryland's been a little sloppy, but generally at home they're better. The one home loss was Iowa. I think you could forgive them on that one. A ton of turnovers in that game. But, for me, it's like that Texas Baylor game, any chance I get to bet against Steve Sarkisian, I'm in. And, the fact that they're begging you to take Texas here by giving you points just shows you that maybe everybody else is losing faith in Sarkisian as well. I think the under 2 years is a good bet for Sarkisian to last at Texas. I think, if you can get it, there's books that will have action on this. And I'm going to guess that, like, if you can go into, like, the coaching futures, that Steve Sarkisian is a good under anywhere he coaches. I mean, he hasn't had success anywhere that he's been at the head coaching level. He was bad at Washington. He was about a 500 coach there. And then at USC, he got rung up. They just looked for any excuse to get him out of the door in a hurry. And then, he was good. He's a guy who's really good if he's under a really good head coach. So under Pete Carroll, he was great. And under Nick Saban, he was great. Right. But it's like,
that's true. And the only thing is, again, just an all offense, no defense guy. The only person who really made that adjustment to coach on both sides is Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Remember Brian Kelly's teams with Cincinnati? They were just that type of team. They would just outscore, played no defense. But when he came over to Notre Dame, he figured out the defense and how to coach defense. And a lot of these coordinators who run up scores and they come in these head coaches jobs, especially from out west, they don't have a grasp on defense.
I think Lane Kiffin is a better coach, though, than this guy. If you're just going to just the pure offensive side, I think that, I think the problem here is that, for Sarkisian, and, it's not always the same with all these guys, is that they come from this, no socks and flip-flops, this, barefoot and, it's cool and all that other stuff, this laid-back style, that Sarkisian has. I think it works if you're Pete Carroll. It doesn't work so well. I like Clapp, but it doesn't work so well if you're Steve Sarkisian. And, the other side of it, he comes in from Tom Herman, who comes from the Urban Meyer. It's win or, we're going to really insult you and make you feel bad. Imagine what the Urban Meyer emails look like. You can only imagine what this guy's, emails, if someone ever had a tape recorder or something, how ugly that would get. You think Gruden's were, whatever. I mean, I never even saw what they were, but I can only imagine what this guy's are, what a jerk, he's the worst. He's a monster.
I thought it was pretty cool that Sarkisian's assistant coaches would play poker. I'd play poker with them at night at the bike.
Yeah. But that's the type of guy that he is, right? He's just laid back. While Urban Meyer is this, he's the guy that, recruited Aaron Hernandez over at Florida, and he's the guy that had, 78 arrests there as well. So it's like, maybe that's why he has to run his teams like that. This tough guy, this intimidation, just a different style.
Do you guys see any coach being fired after this weekend's games? Because we saw last weekend Texas Tech's coach got fired after losing to Kansas State.
It just depends if there's a scandal or not. I'm
glad you brought that up. But this may play into. We should hope that, because there's a game coming up later on between Utah and UCLA. So keep an eye on that game, because UCLA historically has had trouble going into Utah. It's been pretty ugly over there.
I think also that what you have is, I think what you're seeing now in college football, you rarely saw coaches fired mid-season, but now with recruiting moved up, then you have to get rid of them. And that's why Clay Helton went, and they figured maybe if they can get some big name in there, which they should be able to at USC, you would think. And that's why I think Manny Diaz, I think, might be in trouble at Miami too. Is number one, he came in with no head coaching experience, which is a strike against you at Miami before you even walk in the door. And then, he hasn't been winning. And
now, I'll ask Joe this, because it seems to me college football is becoming like the NHL, where these coaches are in and out really fast. That's what happens in the NHL. Fast turnover there.
Not that we're seeing really in the NHL. I think they do have some, but not as fast as college. College seems way quicker than in hockey. We do see some teams notorious for just letting their coaches go on a whim, but I don't really think mid-season like this.
Well, Toronto normally likes to fire a good coach. You know that.
Yeah, they do.
They're up for a good coach firing. It's like they can never figure out what's going on, so let's just fire the coach. I tell you who else is a good coach firing is the soccer. I see Ashley has a soccer comment here, but boy, those soccer teams, they love to fire the coach. They love firing coaches. It's like it's the no nonsense, you know. It's like they lose a game, it's like he's out. They don't care.
Well, when you have the highest paid players in the sport on your team, the expectations are very high, especially how much they make, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of all athletes.
It's craziness. But I think Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech is probably about at his last leg. He makes a ton of money there. A lot of it has to do with what they're into. So Joe, Tony and I used to do a podcast together every week, and a lot of these public universities, the contracts of the head coaches, because they're state employees, are out there on the internet. Like you can Google and get their exact contract, how much it is, what the terms are, what the bonuses are, and everything like that. And Tony and I used to read them out on the show as to what these.
That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it's like so Brett Bielema. It's like he's not going to get fired because here's what they're into him for. You know, it was like it was right there, and it's like some of these contracts are so arrogant. Like, that they're going to, like, if they win the national championship, if they win the SEC title like 3 years in a row or something, it's like, it's not going to happen. It's like, you're not going to be able to do that. It's like, I don't care.
That's funny.
It is.
And actually, I Googled it. In the NHL, there was 6 coaches let go before the season ended last season, which it doesn't seem like that many when you start thinking. I think it just seems like more in college because there's so many more teams.
Maybe because
it's more rampant.
Maybe they questioned the logo in the NHL. I just don't like most of those logos.
Maybe they did, right? Because there was 6. So.
I think Fuente might be okay here because Georgia Tech's defense is really trending poorly here over the past 3 games, giving up over 560 yards a game. This is something to look at here as we get into the second half of college football, Mitch, as these defenses, they start to wear out, and you can start to see some horrible numbers from some of them.
A lot of these teams, though, some teams are also going to improve because in conference play, teams are built, and as far as their style of play, to play these opponents that they know they're going to play every single year. You start to see it's just like NFL teams that are built to play teams in their division. You play Tom Brady, you draft a lot of corners, right? I mean, it's just the way that it goes. And, I think in college, it's these traditional rivalries. And I think that Iowa-Wisconsin game, I don't know why all the love is being given to Wisconsin in this game. Maybe I'm just dead wrong. I mean, this could be the Penn State game was super low scoring, Penn State-Wisconsin. I think this has the potential, at least on paper, to be even lower scoring than that. And I don't know. Paul Chris is not going to come up with some inspiring game plan. I mean, it's just not his thing. So I think Kirk Ferentz, clear edge, for Iowa in that one.
Yeah, I agree there. I would definitely look at the Iowa side, no doubt. I mean, it's just the defense there for Iowa, as we know. But again, it's just Wisconsin. It's just I don't have confidence in their quarterback. I haven't for years.
So some scheduling genius puts Hawaii, Utah State at 3:00 Eastern time. Got Arizona State, Washington State, Oklahoma against Texas Tech. Joe was just mentioning the situation there. It's like, where have you gone? Cliff Kingsbury. Ashley's asking, is there a sport you specialize in, Joe?
No, not really.
I think
football, hockey.
I would say, from talking to you, I'd say hockey and football are your things,
Yeah.
Joe seems to be.
You'll learn, Joe, that it varies year to year. Sometimes you have a better read on some sports than you do in others. It's really interesting there. And then when you're doing great in one sport, you kind of micromanage that one a little bit more.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely
happens. College basketball too is like, I mean, we'll see. 10 hours a day. For Ashley studying soccer, which is a brutally tough sport. It always seems like it's, for a lot of people look at soccer and think, oh, this is easy. No way. It is like, it is crazy. I know Goran, studies it, and he'll go through phases where it's like, it's just unbelievable things happen. I am a big Ted Lasso fan though. Got, Georgia, Florida, the cocktail party. I love this one, of course. And Purdue, Nebraska. Syracuse, Boston College. I don't even like saying Boston College after the way they played the last few weeks. Just pitiful. Minnesota, Northwestern, the Flexers got Minnesota after that Bowling Green loss. They've kind of bounced back. And Oregon, I mean, how are they were dog against UCLA? I mean, who makes these? I mean, people are actually betting it. It didn't make any sense.
Well, they're buying into all these returning starters for UCLA and and Chip Kelly and it's I guess what I mentioned Chip Kelly. We'll talk about him a little later as they face Utah. But I think it's just the fact is they're an experienced team and people they like hearing that all these returning starters are back and they're just not performing on the field. And again, it's the defense.
But the Oregon defense in the trenches just seems to be NFL quality, on the defensive line there. So. To me, it's like I like teams that block and tackle well, and Oregon seems to tackle really well. Their blocking is okay.
Yeah, and you're talking about some of these games here coming up. Looking at the schedule here, let's see. We were talking about this Hawaii-Utah State game. It's an early game. Hawaii does have some balance to their offense, and Chevan Cordeiro is expected to be back under center here. And he's averaging over 7.5 yards per pass attempt. But one thing with Utah State is their defense has just been terrible. I would look to the dog here at Hawaii plus 5.5. And I know we're talking here about Georgia, Florida. But the question is Florida's defense good enough, to cover this big number? Because it's a lot, a lot of points to give the Gators here. And I think I'd rather look at the dog in this one. And looking at this Boston College Syracuse game, Syracuse is a team I've been backing because they made the quarterback change, and the backup here has done a much better job in Schrader. He's got a running style. He's averaging nearly 6 yards per rush. And one thing with BC is that Notre Dame transfer Jerkovich, he got hurt, and the backup has been atrocious. Dennis Grossel, just 55% completion rate, 5.8 yards per pass attempt. And when you look at the BC against the ACC, just averaging 11 points a game. And I would definitely look at Syracuse. And another one I looked at here was I'm not a big fan of this Northwestern team. They're a young team, and it takes time to build up this team. And, man, I still remember that beatdown they took at Nebraska, that beatdown they took to Michigan. Minnesota, I've been really critical over with Tanner Morgan, but he's showing a little improvement here in the Big Ten and completing 68% of his passes. I would definitely look at Minnesota in this one.
Joe, you like any of these games?
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at this Florida State and Clemson game even more, and I really do think Clemson shouldn't be the favorite in this. I'm going to take Florida State plus the points and also put some on the money line. I really think they can come out and pull off an upset in this one. I just don't see Clemson doing it. We look at this Clemson team. They also aren't covering the spread. They're 0-8 against the spread in their last 8. I really think Florida State can come out here and... yeah, especially plus the points. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm also liking Syracuse at home over this Boston College team that I know we're not allowed to say the name of.
Those who will not be named. Yes. I mean,
yeah, so Syracuse over those who will not be named.
The last 2 weeks, just, I mean, I don't even understand it,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So I like them to come out really strong. And then let me just scroll up, see which other ones I liked in here. I also, I think Colorado plus the points is a way to look at this game against Oregon. I really believe in Oregon, but as a favorite this season, they're 0-5 against the spread. I still think they come out and win, but I think this is, a little bit. Colorado just covers, just.
I like Colorado in the points in that as well. Oregon, like you said, they seem to play down to the level of their competition, and especially in the favorite role, they've struggled. But as a dog, it just seems that they take it personally. So
yeah, they don't like it.
It's a Mario Cristobal team, and that's his image. It always has been. I think when we look at that Florida Georgia game. For Dan Mullen, even though he just signed that massive extension, it's almost a must-win game for him against Georgia. And while a lot of people, they'll look at this game, the average bettor, right, looks at this game and they look at it with the points. Me as the college football fan says, and the same thing I said about the Florida-Alabama game, they could care less about covering the spread. They could care less about it. This is the Georgia team that, when they scored a touchdown against Florida, was like 6 years ago, the entire bench, the entire team, the bench, the scrubs, the guys who were injured, the coaches, everybody went into the end zone and celebrated the first touchdown of the game. They took the 15-yard penalty. They did not care, It was like, and that's the type of rivalry that this is. I think Dan Mullen, this is a big thing for him. The loss at LSU now 2 years in a row against bad LSU teams. This is not the expectation, especially a guy that makes as much money. It's not like the Florida job is like the Texas State job or something. This is the Florida job. This is the job in the state of Florida that you get first crack at the best recruiting base in the country. And, Dan Mullen, 4-3 doesn't cut the mustard. You go to 4-4 in Gainesville. Well, now all of a sudden you're back at Dan Mullen's Mississippi State numbers when he had Dak Prescott, 500 coach. It's like, that's what I said when they hired him. It's like he had Dak Prescott. He went 6-6.
I'm going to piggyback to this Colorado-Oregon game. This Colorado offense has just been totally atrocious. I mean, I couldn't let you guys get away picking Colorado. This team is, look at their road performances. They're averaging 172 yards of offense. Now, I understand the situation where teams can play down to the competition. We saw that in the NBA with Golden State and Oklahoma City in the first half. Okay, I'm fully aware this can happen. Is that what you're looking at in this matchup? Because Colorado's offense is really bad.
Right, but we've seen Oregon play down to their opponent so many times as far as the spread goes. I could see this one coming in that 21 to 23 range. I could just see it. It's like Oregon, it's like, this is the day. This is the year of the taunting penalty and the ridiculous call. And as I've always said, the worst calls are not reviewable. That's always the out. The out is that the worst calls are not reviewable. And this year, the worst calls, not just the taunting, the worst calls this year has been forward progress stopped. That has been just. We've seen gigantic swings in games on the forward progress stopped. It's like, the forward progress was stopped because the ball was on the ground. That's why the forward progress stopped,
Yeah, and one thing with Oregon, we're not seeing like we in the past those really big plays. The big plays are really what break games. No, we're not seeing them. We're not seeing them. That needs to break open games with the big plays.
We saw them carve up Ohio State pretty nicely, though. They were unstoppable against them, but it wasn't with the big plays. They have good athletes. They have the best player in the country, and that always helps.
Yeah, it's funny with that Ohio State. I could see assistant coaches game planning all summer for that Ohio State game and then dropping the ball the rest of the season. That probably was a circle, and these assistants were hovering. Okay, we're gonna be ready for this game, and then of course, then they got 6 days to get ready for the next opponent. I think a lot of that happens.
Got a lot of questions in the comments. A lot of games we've gone over. But, you can go back, watch the replay. This will be time-stamped and everything, and you can watch this morning's. I also did videos on a lot of these games, too. So do the best that we can. But circling back is always difficult because we covered the games. Of course, I'm sure on the drive-thru, there'll be people covering games as well. Tony T, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Ruffalo.
Yes. We'll be on in 2 hours and 45 minutes. We'll be on.
It's kind of like I have Joe. Everyone always says hi, Joe, in the comments. Tony's got the hi, Ruffalo. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, what about me?
Everyone, please say hi to Mitch.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
By the way, happy birthday, Mitch. I got to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
It's your birthday all month. I know it's your birthday all month.
It was a 9-day run. It was 9 days. 4 pies, 2 cakes. Who's counting? It was a solid run.
Brian's counting, not 2.
Brian did count, but Brian got me the light up sign. So
I love it.
It's a good maneuver there. But
it's a great time to have a birthday in October because then it leads right into the holiday season.
Yeah, and Rod's birthday starts this week.
Yes.
So we got my birthday into Rod's birthday. Joe's July birthday.
I'm a July too.
Summer, baby.
I'm a July guy.
When are you, Joe? July, right?
I'm July 25th. So I'm just.
So all you guys out there, get your presents ready for Joe. She's going to open up a P.O. box. You can send them all. Send them all there.
You're July 3rd?
I'm July 3rd.
True Cancer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Kansas State, TCU, you got purple and silver versus purple and silver. That's always a straight avoid for me. When I don't like playing teams that have the same colors. Just always no good could come out of it. Ever since I got smoked on the Auburn-Syracuse tie in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago. Well, it's more than a few years ago at this point. Don't love it. And what are the odds? Purple and silver, two teams in the same division. It's like
well, it wasn't supposed to be that. It was that TCU was a Mountain West team.
Right, so they came over.
They should have changed colors. If you're going to change league, you got to change colors.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand blue and white, maybe even a little blue and orange, red and white, but purple and silver, two purple and silvers. It's like the SEC's got like 6 Tigers and 4 Wildcats. LSU Tigers.
What time zone are we in, Mitch?
We're at 3:30 Eastern. We're ready to turn it into the 4 o'clock.
Eastern. Yeah.
Not a lot here at 4 o'clock. Not a lot of meat on the bone. We can move it right into the evening slot. Duke Wake Forest, if you have to. There's a few other smaller games in here. If anyone wants to talk about, more than welcome to. USC Arizona is an interesting one as well. Because if USC doesn't blow out Arizona, then they're really in rough shape. Arizona stinks this year. This is Arizona. I just can't figure this out, right? It's like they've had good coaches. They certainly get good players. It's been so bad for so long. Since Teddy Bruschi was there, I think was the last time they were good. Cal against Oregon State, Colorado State, Boise. Interesting year for Boise. They've played a lot of good teams, played them close, but 3-4 just not where you expect to see the Broncos. Houston, SMU. This is the pick of the litter of the group of 5 games. Houston 1-point favorite at 6-1. Dana Holgorsen was on the hot seat coming into the season, but here he is now at 6-1, up against an unbeaten SMU team. Oklahoma State, who only plays close games, up against Kansas as a 30.5-point favorite. Auburn and Ole Miss, a lot of people probably going to tune into this one. As this is just different styles, but still, a good one. Then you got Mississippi State, inverted line. The line went from +1 to -1. I don't know, against Kentucky. I love the Kentucky running backs. Notre Dame, North Carolina, Louisville, NC State, Ohio State, Penn State. Any of these, Joe, that you like?
There's so many in this time slot. I know I think it was Joseph or Russ was asking us about the Ole Miss and Auburn game. Now, this is one that's going to be a really tight game. I kind of give it to Auburn because they're going to be at home, but it's one I'm not going to be betting because there is part of me that really does think Ole Miss can come in and win this at Auburn. I just really like the quarterback at Auburn, Bo Nix. I know you're not the biggest fan, Mitch. I think he can get it done, though. I really do. Matt Corral is really good as well. And it's going to be a tight battle. I've got it at a pick 'em on my book, so I'm staying off that one.
Yeah, Bo Nix is definitely a college football player in the racehorse category for me. I lost money on him. I lost money on his father. So it's kind of like I've been burned, It's kind of, Tony knows this. And the racehorses, like you lose money on the horse, his father, his brother, his everybody else. But, sometimes you win money on all of them too. But the Nix family hasn't been all that kind to me. But the thing is, I do believe Ole Miss is overrated in this spot. And, I think that the line moved correctly here from 1 to 3, and I think it could probably even afford a few more on that one because those Auburn linebackers can hit for keeps. And we saw it when Ole Miss played against a hitter, and that was Alabama. Well, it wasn't pretty. They tried to run the football against Alabama down by the goal line. It's not going to be any better against Auburn. It could even be worse. It could even be worse than that. You look at Auburn's 2 losses this year. At Penn State at night, no shame in that. And then the loss at the other loss was Georgia. It was home, but it was against Georgia. It was number 1 in the country. No one's really come close to beating them. So not a lot of shame in either of those. And I think getting Hartson from Boise, to coach this team may have been the right move. I always liked Gus Malzahn. I thought he was going to be a lifer there at Auburn, but. Hartson seems to be a good fit there. Maybe if he gets to get his own players in there, a good quarterback.
Again, back to our discussion about coaches and hot seat. Gary Patterson at TCU. This team is underperforming again. Supposed to be a defensive guy, but the defense just isn't there. I mean, they're trending in the wrong direction.
We'll take him at Miami in a heartbeat if they want to let him go. We'll take him. He makes a ridiculous amount of money, but it's like we'll take him in a heartbeat if he's available.
They haven't. Yeah, against the Big 12, they're giving up nearly 500 yards a game. And Wildcats playing the better defense. Skylar Thompson, more accurate quarterback against the Big 12, averaging 8.7 yards per pass attempt. I like the Kansas State side in that one. Wake Forest, be careful laying the points here. This is another Wake Forest team. When you look at their past 3 games, giving up 543 yards. Be careful laying points with teams like that. I know they're a big favorite. I don't really like Duke in that one, but I'd be careful laying points here with Wake Forest. And one game that I looked at here was San Jose State laying the 3 against Wyoming. What's happened to Wyoming? What's happened to this? How can you score only 3 points at home to New Mexico? New Mexico has got one of the – I talked to CJ Montez. If you want to see atrocious quarterback play, look at him. All they did was run the ball, and it made sense. They took a script out of Bob Davies' coaching style, just run every play. And they were able to get past Wyoming benched Sean Chambers. Levi, they got a freshman at quarterback. San Jose State has shown more of a pulse on offense with Nick Nash, showed improvement last week in their win. And they defend the run. So I look at San Jose State here laying the 3 against this Wyoming club.
You're freezing, Joke? I didn't see you freeze up. She said in the comments.
Oh, well, yeah. So I didn't hear anything from you guys for a little bit. And then all of a sudden it puts Tony on speed mode. And everything he said was just said in half a second. It was quite interesting to listen to.
Joe is one of the all-time great freezers on Skype. She always freezes in a good position. It's never the stupid look that we always get,
Oh, good.
It's it's always she planned it that way, she was going to get frozen. But we still we'll telestrate her and put the eye patch on her and some spinach on the teeth.
Getting back on this Boise State.
I'm terrified always that I'm going to get frozen.
Yeah, it's one thing with this Boise State team. It's been the defense. I go back to 3 years ago when San Diego State went in there and they were able to milk clock on them in 5 minutes to hold the lead. I said, what's gone wrong with this defense? And it continues to play here. It's gone south. You look against Mountain West. How can you give up 400 yards a game against a Mountain West, Mitch? How can you do that when you're a team like Boise State?
I understand it, but it's at the same time they've lost some really close games too. They the loss against Oklahoma State was a 1-pointer. The loss against UCF, they were in that game until the very end. You win those 2 games, and it's the same thing I say about Miami. I say the same thing about Miami and why I think they're even a better dog than a lot of people give. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, with the points. But you look at Miami, right? They missed the chip shot field goal against Virginia. Right, that they had. That would have been a game winner. They were down by 2. They had a field goal that they lined up for 16 yards. They missed it. Basically, shorter than an extra. Basically, it was an extra point. And they missed it. They lost the game on it. It was the last play of the game. And then against North Carolina, they were driving right down the middle of the field. A tipped ball goes straight up in the air, and some defensive lineman, catches it with a diving catch, to lose. Both those games, they, the ball bounces one little way, the other. They're 5-2 going into this one. But anyways, I think Boise the same thing, and I always give Boise the benefit of the doubt. I still like Boise. Maybe Chris Peterson will come back.
Yeah, that's right. He's looking. I don't know if he's looking for work, but it's all right. He's out there.
Yeah, maybe Miami comes to. I bet he ends up at USC is where he's going to end up at.
That's possible. That was the choice. I think Peterson turned him down, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He took the Washington job over that.
That's right. Yeah,
I'd love to have him at Miami. That guy, he's a hard-nosed. I mean, he's a good coach. I like the guys that punch it in, at the end of the game. They don't sit around try and play the clock and field goal and get it burn, make the other team burn their timeouts, whatever. Just punch it in, Yeah. It's how about this? We take a 4-point game, we make it 11. How about this? And then I like my defense. I like my chances here, up by 11 points. Instead of screwing around and how many times do you see them miss these things? Oh,
all the time. These are college kickers. These are college kickers.
Look at last night. Guy throws the ball right into the into the end zone. Freak little tip. We saw it in the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, at the 1-foot line, does it. It's it's amazing. you know?
Yeah. Well, if you had South Florida last night, all those turnovers in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it killed me.
They were trying to cover. They were all 10 guys on that team were trying to cover except the quarterback.
Which
you need the quarterback in on that.
Which leads me to a discussion that we could have at another time. But do you think that the NFL should disclose every game at some point while the game is live, what the position is, the financial position of the official sports book of the NFL? What's their interest here? What is their interest? I think that for the sake of full transparency, that it should be disclosed. If you're the official betting partner of the National Football League, if you're the official betting partner of the Houston Astros, if you're the official betting partner of a team, then you should disclose what your position is, because there's money being exchanged between these entities. And there is a lot of money that's being exchanged on the outcomes of these games. And for the sake of full transparency, I mean, LSU, well, the reason why we couldn't give you a scholarship this year, we got backdoored by Auburn, you know? That's why. You know? The states are governing the betting you know?
Here's the scary part of that, because if this happens and this gets into Congress' hand, they're going to just do what they know. And my biggest fear in all of sports betting is that it goes into a pari-mutuel system.
That would be the worst.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's why when you bring up this stuff and it gets into Congress's hands, they could be looking at that system, and I think that gives them a guaranteed profit. You know, and that's the scary part of it.
It is. Then you go into basically a lottery of doing it the way they do it in Canada.
Yeah,
a lottery.
Because there's enough people in Congress that don't want to take the time to understand this industry, but they know that they're familiar with pari-mutuel, and you got the horse people in there now.
But I think it works. I think the system works, but I just believe that there needs to be a level of transparency there, because we see that we see rules and penalties that affect outcomes of games that are not reviewable calls, that can't be possibly overturned by the system that's in place. And we saw it in the Cowboys against the Panthers. There was a key play in there where there was a fumble that would have taken the game from a 4-point game to an 11-point game, which is now a double-digit deficit that the Cowboys would have been in. Instead of the 11-point deficit, it turned into a 3-point lead. And that was a forward progress stopped because the ball was on the ground. And then we saw forward progress stopped the other day. You know, once again, same situation where there was a fumble, and it just seems that if it's not the case, then what's the big deal? I mean, these are publicly held companies. What's the big deal?
I think some of the professional leagues and even college, they were not ready for the transition to high definition television, and what it's exposing here with a lot of these, the quality of these lenses where the officials on the field can't see everything,
right?
And it's really difficult, and they didn't really have a good plan for it, because I think there needs to be more people observing the game, and if there is a questionable call, it should be done immediately. The problem is delay. Wait for the official to go get the headset. No, just have someone assigned to it and get that.
Well, in college, they do that. They have the replay official that reviews every single play. But you shouldn't be allowed to speed it up in hopes that they don't see that the ball's on the ground or any of that stuff. Either it is or it isn't. And it's I don't know. I just think that the taunting penalties, this forward progress stopped, whatever that means.
I'll go back to that forward. The reason for that is the safety. I mean, you can understand why they want to do it, because they don't want to get sued anymore. If someone's trying to get that yardage and they get hit, and that again, you can get hit pretty hard when your forward progress is stopped. I think they're kind of concerned about the safety in that situation.
But safety left football as soon as they stopped allowing defensive backs to cover receivers. Safety has exited the building. When you tell defensive backs that they're no longer allowed to cover wide receivers, well, then you have these guys that are like my height covering these wide receivers. It really doesn't matter how tall they are, because what they do is they're really fast and they're ball hawkers. And then when everybody else blitzes on every single play, it's just a prayer that they're throwing up. And if this guy can outleap the other guy, well, then there's your good pass coverage, because other than that, you have no chance to actually stop a Tom Brady surgeon out there, right? I mean, he's going to pick you apart under the current rules, because you're not allowed to cover his receivers. So someone's going to be open. Trust me on this. You give Tom Brady 80 passes to hit a guy that's, basically open, on 80 plays. He's probably going to hit him 78 times.
One thing I've noticed in this league, how it's gotten so much, how the defensive players and all the players gotten faster, and the tight ends are taking a beating in this league with their catches over the middle and their catches in open field. They just don't have the speed to elude these big hits. So I think you may see the tight end being eliminated here in pass, not by rule, but just by teams, because their tight ends just take a beating in this league now.
Yeah, it means go the way of the fullback.
Yeah.
Anyways. Got some more games to cover. I just wanted to go on the side. And Tony always likes a good hot topic, so we'll have to have him back. We could do a whole thing on it, for just about every sport. We could find it. So we go into what Joe and we didn't go Ohio State, Penn State.
We've got to talk that game.
All right. Well,
we have to talk this game, because I know, Mitch, you've talked about how Ohio State hasn't faced a good team since they faced the Ducks. No, and it's completely true. And this is a game that Penn State has such a good defense.
Hate the eye test.
They're really going to
hate the eye test.
Yeah, they're going to give Ohio State a really hard time. This is way too many points for Ohio State to cover. I could see it too. This is going to be a really hard battle. The Buckeyes are my team. I don't think they can do it this weekend.
Money line, Penn State. I don't see it. I don't understand. So this is something I say every day on the show. Ohio State's ranked 5th in the country. Oregon is ranked 3 to 5 slots behind them, depending on what week it is, right? This week, I think they're 3 because Penn State lost. But how are they ranked behind them at all? Number one. Is how are they ranked behind them when they played head-to-head at Ohio State, have the exact same record? Yeah, Oregon has a loss. It was not to a ranked team. Ohio State's loss was to a ranked team, but they have no wins over ranked teams. This is their wins, and we don't even need to look at it. It's Akron, Tulsa, Indiana, Minnesota, and Maryland, right? Those are the wins. And then they have one more. So Akron, Minnesota, Maryland, Tulsa.
I don't know.
It's someone in that same category.
It is. It's no one spectacular.
It's no one
That's
spectacular.
for sure.
The purpose of the college football rankings is to help the networks select their teams to show on television. That is the purpose of the rankings.
Yeah, well then they should not play the games.
That's the purpose. Is basically to help the networks schedule. Because there's 100 games on TV. Which game are we putting at 7:30 Eastern on ABC? Which game are we putting on 3:30 on CBS on ESPN? The rankings help the networks set the schedule and helps the viewer tune in, because hey, this is number 25 ranked team. We got to watch this game, or number 10 ranked team. We got to watch them. They should be good. Because if there's again the people like us, we know we study this every single day, but the public out there, they got their lives going on. They don't really know a lot of these teams, but they are trusting the schedule makers and these networks to produce the best possible matchup in prime time and on their network. And I think that's really what the purpose of the rankings is. Pretty much just a TV schedule. That's it.
Oh,
nothing else.
What do you think here on Ohio State, Penn State? Any thoughts?
Well, my thought here is with the dog. I mean, Clifford is expected to be 100% when he takes the field against Ohio State. Franklin's comment was to the media about Clifford, is that his knee will be fully healthy for this, and that if that's the case, then I'm definitely going to look at the Penn State side, because again, we're looking at a Penn State defense. They're not a pushover. Okay, you can Ohio State face some pushover teams, but this is one that is not. They're allowing just 323 yards a game, 3.6 yards per rush, 5.2 yards per pass attempt. That's pretty good. And Clifford's been accurate in his games against ranked opponents. 68% completion rate, 7.5 yards per pass attempt. And let's face it, Ohio State has faced some weak Big Ten opponents, piled up wins and a lot of yardage. So And remember, they did give up 31 on the road to Minnesota, but they were really young then. We always make that young excuse. But I definitely would bank on Penn State to be competitive in this game.
So how about James Franklin to USC rumors?
Well, I mean, USC it's been really disappointing. But again, we've talked about this in the past with USC. They recruit the best, playmakers out there. But the problem is they don't have good linemen, and they don't coach the offensive line. That has been the case. You don't see offensive linemen in the NFL from USC anymore, right? It's all Alabama.
They were always the best offensive linemen.
They were always the best
offensive linemen in the NFL were from USC. Ron Yeri was from USC. The guy in the Bengals, right?
Munoz, yeah.
Munoz from USC. They're all from USC, and you're right. Clay Matthews, right?
Matthews. They had great offensive linemen there. Who was that one from played at Carolina Panthers? His name escapes me right now. Really great offensive.
I know what you're saying. But that's what they've always had on their great teams is great lines, and this year they do not have that. They haven't had one for a while.
Yeah, and they also protected some of the players they thought were NFL ready, like Pat Hayden, Matt Leinart. That's because the offensive line made them look better than they were. Mark Sanchez,
Mel Tucker to LSU. It was the Nick Saban route that he went from Michigan State to LSU, so that makes sense. I think the Franklin to USC makes a ton of sense. Here's a guy that's rebuilt programs. He won at Vandy too, so just on the kicker.
That's hard to
do. That and Kansas are two of the toughest places to win. But we go into the degenerate time slot. We call this the degenerate time slot because people on the East Coast, this is kind of where it's like the chasers.
I love these games. Oh, yeah. I love that time slot.
This is the chaser, the degenerate time. We all love this time slot. It's like, if you don't play this time slot, you're a liar. It's like, we know that. The only people that say, oh, I never play those late games because I'm usually good with my position from the day. It's like,
I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake. Extra money or you're down.
I'm wide awake 7:30 Pacific. I'm wide awake for these, so that's perfect time.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, so. We got Utah, UCLA. Chip Kelly, 5-3 there this year for the Bruins. Utah 4-3. Kyle Whittingham, the way better coach here. We got the Bronco Mendenhall Bowl. We've got BYU in Virginia, and Stanford, Washington. Stanford, if you could figure out the Pac-12 teams, send me a message. I'd love to hear about this one. And then a pretty good one, San Diego State against Fresno. San Diego State not good at throwing the football. We saw that Fresno pass defense against Nevada last week. Not pretty, but it's like they held on for dear life. But San Diego State, always a really good running back, but the passing game is always suspect since Harbaugh's left. Really, Brady Hoke, I think, had a good passing offense there too.
Yeah, I think looking at the games at this time slot, again, as I said with UCLA, this has always been a bad spot for UCLA. I mean, they get pounded at Utah. They're just not that physical team. When Utah made the quarterback change away from Charlie Brewer, their offense really started to perform better, and they won and covered 4 straight against UCLA. The 2 home games in that period, in that past four years here, they played twice at home. Utah won by 36 or 31 points. They have scored 41 or greater points in their past 4 against the Bruins. And again, the Bruins defense is failing them this year. They're giving up 290 yards passing, 7.5 yards per pass attempt. You look at Bruins losses to Fresno State, they gave up 40. They gave 42 to Arizona State. Then last week, Oregon put up 34 on them and 417 yards. Fresno State put up 569 yards on UCLA. ASU 439 yards. I can only look at Utah in this game, Mitch, because this has not been a good spot for the Bruins to go into Utah. They used to make fun about UCLA's the colors there. They pretty much have the soft. They consider them a soft team out here in LA. USC is really the power team out here.
Yeah, I think that well, I was jumped on the Utah bandwagon. I saw, wow, they finally got things going in the right order. And Oregon State appeared to be heading in the opposite direction. So I jump on Utah and, make another donation. It was,
night and day with Utah at home, though.
Yeah, they are night and day at home. They did lose. So the BYU game was at BYU this year, the Civil War. Or the Holy War.
Holy West.
I get them all confused. There's so many trophy games.
They had the Arizona State win. They had to win at home against. Let's see here.
Just the loss. So they've won at home. They've lost on the road. San Diego State, BYU. The games they've lost. All their losses are on the road. Yeah, I like Utah here in the.
But the quarterback change is a big difference too. With Brewer. I don't know. Why would you play Brewer? I don't know some of these transfer quarterbacks.
Utah had the last 2 years have kind of been infatuated with the transfer. They had the guy from South Carolina, and now this guy, from Baylor, right? Brewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not like those upper echelon. This is kind of a weird year for the NFL draft, and looking at these college players, just not if Thibodeau, it's got to be the number one overall, and then everybody else. There's not really like a Peyton Manning out there, that you're gonna find, or a even a Justin Herbert type, or Josh Allen. There's not those guys.
Yeah, the problem though is when there's nothing to talk about but the draft, these guys get elevated by all these draft gurus. They start to elevate these guys, and when we need to remember back to October, November, what we thought about these people.
So Joe, Tony had the pleasure of doing shows with me during the Jared Goff draft, the Mitch Trubisky draft. You could only imagine what those shows were like. It was just doesn't everybody watch the game?
And I used to talk to this quarterback. I said, Mitch, this guy Mahomes is pretty good, man. Mahomes is pretty good.
Yeah, we were surprised, when they
Mahomes.
Yeah, it was like this is where we were, but it was.
I think he's better to be called Mahomes. I like that name.
But he was
over Mahomes.
He was in the he was in the mix. I loved Deshaun Watson in that draft. I loved him. I was just and they actually.
He's a fantastic quarterback.
Yeah, but the Chiefs traded up, took Mahomes ahead of Watson, and I was freaking out.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh yeah, but we
saw these guys early in their career.
We were super critical of Jared Goff and Carson Wentz and Mitch Trubisky. We were the biggest. Normally there's one guy's easier on him, the other guy's ripping him apart. We're both ripping him.
Here's one. Gabbert.
Oh God!
I could not believe it.
I still don't understand it.
Jesus,
it's
what are you
terrible.
guys thinking?
Oh, and the UCF guy. The UCF guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
did you guys do live commentary right as it was going?
No, we did. Yeah. We had a weekly show, and we would just. we would do this for months. How to the guy from UCF. He kept moving up in the draft. Who is he again? And he was finally drafted 4th overall or something by the Jaguars. It was what?
We had Luck when he was a rookie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Luck when he was a rookie, and they went into, was it Wake Forest, and they lost, and I was just, this guy's an NFL prospect. How could he go into Wake Forest and lose? Yep. His first road game. I couldn't believe that.
I remember
those things. We remember everything.
I still couldn't believe Carson Palmer won the Heisman that year.
I know.
Still stunned on that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Still bitter. It's always the bad ones. Any thoughts on Fresno State, San Diego State? You think this Fresno defense can beat the Aztecs? The Aztecs never get a lot of respect. The thing is, when they're 9-point favorites, that's when they don't cover. But when they're in spots like this is where they just pound them.
Well, the thing about it is Jake Hayner's past 2 road performance is a little bit troubling here. 4 picks at Hawaii, and then against Wyoming, averaged 3.4 yards per pass attempt. So those are the things here with Hayner's current form for Fresno State. Has me a little nervous, especially facing the San Diego State team, who is really good defensively. But again, as always, look at the Aztecs offense. All they do is run the football with Bell, and Bell's healthy now. It's 4.9 yards a carry. He was injured early in the season. They are a 7-0 team, and one thing with Fresno State against the conference, they are giving up nearly 400 yards a game, and of course the Aztecs against the Mountain West giving up just 266 yards, 11.3 points a game. I would lean here with San Diego State for this reason. Hayner's current form is not really sharp right now.
So someone just said in here that Gabbert's Brady's backup in Tampa Bay. He actually, and I just checked the box score, and he did see time with the varsity because I figured last week would be the time that he would have played, when they were rolling it up on the Bears. So he did get in with the varsity, 2 of 3 for 15 yards Blaine Gabbert.
Wow.
Minimum, yeah. That's it. Well, you don't have to pay him a whole lot to be a backup quarterback, right? They don't. It's like just take the page out of a Dallas Cowboys book. Don't pay your backups because your season's screwed if your starter's down anyway. So why waste your money on this backup?
Yeah. It's like when the kicker asked Jimmy Johnson for a raise, or he tried to hold out. It was like, see ya. It's like, we have the all-world kicker or whatever. It's like, and he like wants all this money. Jimmy Johnson's like, just drew a line like right through him in the sheet. It's like, yeah, okay.
That's the key. Do you really want to pay a backup a lot of money, and that money can go to a player on offense or defense? Because you realize if your backup goes in, your season's screwed anyway. So,
yeah.
Why not just have a garbage backup and then just have a better player on the field with that money with your starter in there.
Well, anyway, speaking of NFL, we got a couple minutes left to just quickly go over the NFL from a high level. We saw last night's game. Joe and I do the halftimes, and so, we get to say things, at halftime after, a little bit of football's been played. A lot of times it's almost like boxing, where it's, it's the fight that everyone thought they would see and hoped we wouldn't see, it's like where it's just this one-sided game. But last night, was actually a game that really lived up to it. It wasn't, we've been hung out to dry by Aaron Rodgers a few times in the big games, against the Niners. So it's like, we've been there, but, we also have cashed. I think our biggest cash of the season was also Aaron Rodgers when the Packers were losing at halftime of a game. I think
that was beautiful. That one.
It was just awesome. And that's how we nail those halftimes when the team is playing better and is not winning the game. That's the gift that keeps on giving is those halftimes.
And then we get the people in the comments telling us we're idiots, and then Mitch bets them again.
Yeah,
he's like,
that's we learned that in our podcast. When you write negative comments, and you definitely bet that you definitely had more.
Oh yeah.
We learned that 10 years ago.
It's like I was leaning Denver second half. That Denver Cleveland. I mean, those is just a tough watch, right? It's like I was leaning Denver second half, but now I'm really in. Tony has seen me at the sports book with nothing left in my pocket except for a bag of Cheez-Its while I'm waiting to cash my tickets. You'd be surprised how far I go. First time here, Joe Madden absolutely knows her stuff, and she's an absolute beauty. There you have it.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yep. Joe Madden, you're going to subscribe just because of her, whatever it takes. But Joe, actually, if it is your first time here with Joe, and this is the first time we've had Tony on the show, a lot of other YouTube channels or whatever, even networks and stuff, they have women on their shows just to have a woman on their show. We have Joe here because she knows as much as everybody else, and that's the whole idea. It's that she's not here to turn letters and be Vanna White. But she
would suck at that.
She could. You could do it.
No, I couldn't.
How about if you just serve us meatball questions and agree with everything we say?
When I broke in,
God, that would be brutal.
My producers wanted that type of person. I said, no, I want Erin to contribute. Now she's at NFL Network. She did the surfing. She's on ABC. I mean, you can really move far. If turning letters is not what you want to do.
Or you could end up with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love being with Pick Dogs.
There you go. See? Be surprised how expensive something like that would cost her. Say on a regular basis. I said I liked it. She's texting me.
I would never do that. Never.
She charges by the compliment.
I said it 3 times, you guys, by the way.
Joe charges by the compliment. Ruffalo is Vanna White. He does bring the eye candy to the drive-thru, no doubt. We want Ruffalo on the Saturday morning college football show to show up with a plate of powdered donuts and a dark colored shirt. Anyways, we got the Colts and the Titans. The Colts 2.5-point favorites, 3.5-point swing in this game. The Jetropolitans 10.5-point doggies to the Bengals. Of course, 2 of the Patriots' wins are against the Jets this year. 2 of their 3. Not going to be a popular video when it gets posted. Lions against the Eagles. Falcons, Panthers. The Panthers have now lost 4 in a row. Falcons are actually at 3-3 very quietly. They have not won a home game. Texans against the Rams. The Rams draw the Lions and Texans in back-to-back weeks, and the Broncos actually played the scrub teams better than they have so far. The Bills, who have waxed the Dolphins the last 2 times they played. Those are the early games for Sunday. Anything there at all, Joe, that you change your opinion from what we talked about yesterday?
No, there isn't. And I'm terrified to say if I'm going to bet the Eagles and Lions game, I'm going to have to back the Lions in this one. I know it's Jared Goff, but I really don't like what I'm seeing out of this Eagles team. And I think when we look at Jared Goff in this situation, if they're going to get a win, it's going to be here at home. So that's what I'm leaning on. I know I said I'd never back Jared Goff again, but I am.
I just can't go there. I just can't do it. I don't even know what to say about that. I'm flabbergasted.
I can't with the Eagles though. Like, I do not have faith in this Eagles team. Everything we're seeing out of them.
You have faith in Dan Campbell and Jared Goff? I mean,
no.
No,
I don't. But if I had to bet this,
did you see the game plan from inside the 10-yard line in Chicago at Soldier Field? 6 times.
There wasn't one. It was the worst game plan in the world. I don't even know what they were thinking there. But I think you give me Detroit plus the points at home. I don't know if they're going to win it, but they should cover. And this, I think, is their only chance to win it, unless they do come out and win on Thanksgiving, like you said, which could be. I think they win their game
on Thanksgiving against the Bears.
Yeah. But otherwise, I like the Steelers. Steelers plus the points against the Browns. I really do think this is one where
I like the Browns.
You do?
Yes.
We're just opposite here.
Yeah, we're just not gonna. We're gonna agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Agree
to disagree.
I thought you were just here. I thought you were here to just agree with us and serve us easy questions. Isn't that
I forgot my role. Sorry, Mitch. Let me go put on my other hat.
It's not what this isn't what I signed up for. And you're supposed to call us experts a lot. That was
expert.
She's going to be in a host role pretty soon, Mitch.
She doesn't want.
Firing the questions. Firing.
She doesn't want to be. I tried. This is what you get. The mouth.
You can fire the question, and come with her opinion too.
Anyways, I like the Browns here. I think they're just baiting you into taking the Steelers. It's like it just seems so obvious, and the Browns just racked up on the Steelers last year. Baker Mayfield's going to start in this one. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I guess it is good when Case Keenum is your backup. I don't know. Nick Chubb's going to play. I don't love the way the Steelers have looked this year.
Yeah, I'm looking here under with the Bills and Dolphins. Dolphins trip to Buffalo here. I know it's not November yet. It'll be one day before November, so we're looking some bad weather hitting the East Coast here. So I'll be looking at that one under the total. I think the Buffalo defense here can control this one, and I don't want to touch that point spread because if the weather conditions bad and we could be looking at wind and cold weather out north, that's why I also looked at the under here with the Jets Bengals. The Bengals defense is playing well, but I don't know how Burrow's going to handle that weather there in New York, the LSU quarterback. So from California, that's something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, the other one for me in this slot that I find really just terrible is 49ers against the Bears. You got 3 bad quarterbacks, on one field, and they could possibly all be on this field, in the same game. Trey Lance is horrific. I mean, he is like they should just cut bait already if they can. If they can get rid of him to a team that really, sees the potential there, they should do it. And, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's certainly not the answer, but they have a chance to maybe start over, if they can pull the right trade for one of those two guys or both. The Patriots are interested in Garoppolo. They're not. They don't.
Keep an eye on the wind.
Do you really think they pull that quick on Trey? You don't think they give him more time to develop?
Well, I never liked the pick to begin with. I got death threats over my commentary on it. So
yes, that's correct.
I did have a guy that wanted to kill me because of my Trey Lance draft day comments.
Yeah, wind and rain, a lot of wind here, 16 miles per hour forecast in Cleveland, in the Cleveland game, as well as in the Chicago game. So the Midwest is going to get hit with a lot, possibly windy conditions. So keep an eye on the weather here this week.
I love watching the weather on TV. That's the best part of it.
I'm watching it out my window right now. Lots of snow coming down.
I'll be in the hot tub watching the second half of that Cowboys Vikings game.
Don't ask Joe to do the weather.
Well,
no.
I'll do the weather.
I would be the grumpiest weather girl in the winter here. Would not go over well.
No, it is worth pointing out. Weather will factor in these games. You want to try and get ahead of it because you're going to see this drastic line moves here, especially in the totals. If right now it looks like there could be some weather here across the East Coast and through the Midwest.
Yeah, both those games are down 1.5 already.
Yeah,
totals.
Yeah.
We've got the afternoon slot, Seahawks against the Jaguars. Geno Smith's got a chance to pick up a win as a starting quarterback there. We've got the Chargers against the Patriots. Now, the Patriots have won 3 games. But let's call it what it is. 2 of them are against the Jets. Right? They do have 3 wins, but 2 of them are against the Jets. Do those even count? I mean, I don't count those as wins. And then they've got the Saints and the Bucs. The Saints beat up on the Bucs last year, so a little bit of revenge. And then the Broncos against Washington, who I don't know what they're doing. Joe, any of these 4, Joe?
Give me my Chargers all day long. Twice this Sunday. They are going to beat up on this New England team. New England's 2-5 against the spread on their last 7 on the road. The Chargers just don't step in front of them. Yeah, they had that one brutal game, but they're going to come out. They're going to dominate in this one.
What are better wins? Beating the Jaguars, Jets, and Giants, or beating the Jets twice and the Texans?
Jaguars, Jets, Giants.
Because the Broncos beat the Jaguars, Jets, and Giants.
Yeah.
But the Patriots beat the Jets twice and the Texans. That's their 3 wins.
Oh yeah, give me Denver. Denver's beat better teams.
It's like, I don't see it. I don't see how the Patriots are that close. They beat the Jets twice and the Texans.
Yeah.
It's not good.
But everyone's looking at how destroyed the Chargers got in that one game. So
by Lamar Jackson, he's done that to a million teams. That's what he does.
Exactly. Yeah. But people are looking at that because people remember the last game. They don't remember back. The average, and I think so, the average bettor does not look back past what they did the week before. They remember sitting there watching the highlights and seeing the Chargers get completely destroyed in that game.
I could see a lot of people jumping on the Jaguars. I could see it, but I like Seattle there.
Yeah, I'm there too, and I'm going to butt heads with both of you on this New England. I will take the points here with New England. They were competitive against Dallas. They went to the overtime with Dallas. They lose to the Bucs by 2. But look at this Charger. When we talked about last week, they gave up 34 against Baltimore, but they gave up 42 against Cleveland at home. Yeah, they got ahead of them, but that defense gave up 42 to Cleveland, 34 to Baltimore.
You don't think Joey Bosa is going to knock Mac Jones on his butt this weekend? Joey Bosa is going to be all over Mac Jones.
Well, you know what? I think Bill Belichick and his coaching staff will have a scheme to make sure that he doesn't. That's the key there. You've got an experienced head coach against a first-year head coach.
What was that Patriots game, Mitch? And we were talking about how Belichick should be able to scheme for this, and he just fell apart in that game, right? We were thinking he was going to be able to scheme well against someone. I can't remember which game it was. Just fell apart.
I'll say this about Mac Jones. He showed me something in that Dallas game when he threw that pick and came back on the next drive and got that touchdown. I know they lost in overtime, but he is showing some growth, in my opinion, here. And they've been competitive. 2-point loss to Tampa. I got to give them a little respect more than the Chargers here.
Give me Bosa to get at least 2 sacks on him.
Oh, there you go.
We got Sunday night and Monday night, Vikings and Cowboys on Sunday night, and the Chiefs and Giants on Monday night. Of course, Joe and I will be live at halftime of both of these beauties. Vikings line has now gone from +1 to -3. To me, that means Dak Prescott is not going to play.
Yeah, I'd take the Vikings. I think we saw Kirk Cousins be able to show that he can win a primetime game last season. I know it took him forever to get there, but I think the Vikings at home in prime time, as long as Cousins shows up, is how it's going to go in this one.
Yeah, again, it all comes down to Prescott. Is that calf? Is it fine? I mean, look what they've done here. The past 5 is 505 yards, and offense is averaging 460 yards. But we know what happens when Prescott's not on the field.
Oh.
We saw that last year, right?
Oh,
we saw that last year.
Oh, what's his name? What's the guy's name? The backup. It was D something.
Dalton, Andy Dalton.
No,
Dalton.
Besides Dalton, the other guy.
There was Gilbert, and there was a guy from Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
Who was that guy? What was the name of those backups? My goodness, there were so many bad ones. But yeah, I mean, again, on this game, again, it's going to come down to Prescott. You probably will find out Sunday morning. I think on the morning show. I think that's what you want to tune into. And then even the halftime shows, Mitch, when you get a better read on Prescott's status, because it's really simple. Prescott's in, it's the Cowboys. He's out, it's the Vikings.
I like the Vikings either way. I think the Vikings were one of the teams that were really – Danucci is the guy. Because I kept saying who would be better at quarterback, Danny Bonaducci or Danucci. I think I like Bonaducci in that one. But I think that I think that Minnesota was one of the teams that really got hurt by the no fans in the stands, and I really don't miss pumped-in crowd noise and cardboard cutouts. But I just think that the Vikings have a really serious home field advantage, and I think at on that night game, I think it's going to be really loud with the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's what I call maximum home field advantage. When you have a good home field advantage, but you're in a prime time game, that's what you call maximum. It's maximum right here.
Cooper Rush would start if it's not Dak. Cooper's great in preseason.
Yeah, here's my question for you. Do you guys think it would be smart for them to start Dak? No, like either way, because he has been wearing this boot. If he's not 100%, should they risk him getting injured? Is this a game where they have to come out and win this for their season?
They have such a good head coach that they're really not kidding. He's terrible.
I think they rest him. I really do. I think it's the best call. Make sure he's 100% healthy, because this team wants a playoff run. And if Dak goes out again, they're going to face what they faced last season. So I think rest Dak, let him sit.
We have the Vikings in both the Circa and Westgate, so I say rest him.
Yeah.
Someone call the coach.
They're going to win the division. It comes down to is, do you want the home field in the NFC playoffs? And of course, the Cardinals loss puts them, in a record tie with them. Of course, we'll go into tiebreakers. It may not be that. May be the thought here is home. You got a team that's performing well here, and you can look here at home field advantage for the playoffs. If you win the division, you get a home field no matter what in the first in the divisional series. But round.
So there's a good debate going on in the comments here. Ashley talking about Mac Jones, and Roland also involved in this conversation. So when the 49ers took Trey Lance, and I said they should have taken Mac Jones, and I got, a guy that wants to kill me, right, because of it. I thought I liked it, but for different I like it for different reasons, than that. I liked Mac Jones for different reasons, but what I've seen so far, Mac Jones in the NFL, is he's a check down guy. He makes quick decisions, but the quick decision is always the check down. It's never throw it down the field. Never.
He's a rookie. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. I think as in a rookie, I think you're going to be played a little more safe with a rookie.
But doesn't he check it down just a little too much?
After 3 years, we'll be able to have a better read on him, because who was it that said Walsh? He said after 25 games, you can pretty much tell if a quarterback can make it in the league. I think that was Bill Walsh that said that.
Okay.
Yep, I agree with John Billy here. Everyone should support Mr. Beast and Mark Robert. They're doing that thing about oceans and saving the oceans and everything. Team C's. I wanted to get involved. I didn't have time to shoot my video. I didn't realize it was today. I didn't think it was today. Is it?
I haven't even heard of it.
Oh yeah, I was going to do it as well. I was going to go down to the beach with the turtles and everything and do one.
Yeah, going back on that Monday Night Football game, we look at the last two home games for Minnesota. They scored 7 against Cleveland, 19 against Detroit.
No, they won that game against.
They won those games. They did win those games. Didn't cover either of them. They lost against Cleveland, 14-7.
This is their time. Anyways.
It's their time, right? Okay.
Anyways, Tony, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Right.
Anytime you want to come back on.
Monday I told you Fridays. I gave you my commitment for Fridays.
So all right, so Tony will be here with us every Friday.
I'll be here Friday. Every Friday.
It'll be the three of us. Oh, got a special template made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dog is snoring. I apologize if you guys can hear him. It sounds like a freight train in my room right now.
That's okay. As long as here's the drive-through. I would call it the Rodzawacki drive-through super system play. When a handicapper gives out a favorite and their dog barks, take the dog. That is 4-0 ATS this year. So barking, don't give out a favorite.
It's Al McMorty, right? That's got
Al McMorty, Joe D'Amico had one, and someone had, I forgot who Chris Ruffalo had one, I think, where his dog was barking. He has a new. Oh, by the way, he has a new dog. That's an emotional support animal. That he holds really. I don't know if you've seen he's shown a few times. He gets really nice emotional support from his dogs.
All right. Well, Tony, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Friday. And, of course, everyone can see Tony in just a couple minutes, about 45 minutes, over on the drive-thru.
Drive-thru. We'll have 8 cappers on the show in 45 minutes. Time to get those graphics ready. We'll be ready to roll in at about 45.
Have a great night, everyone. And,
great lead-in.
I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow morning on our college football show.